everyone please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Pull my meeting back up. Hold on one second. Closed out the meeting window. Had it open the whole time. All right. First thing we got here is Mr. McCormick. Do you have any recognition for this evening?
I do, yes. Thank you, Mr. Grant. So just a couple of shout-outs to start, and then I have one recognition for this evening. I just want to once again thank some of our faculty and staff. I think it was last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago now, we had our STEAM night, March 18th, which was a reschedule from an earlier date. And it was a great success. We had over 360 family members, staff, and students attend here at the high school. But I want to give a special recognition to Mr. McNeil, Ms. Nordby, Ms. Saunders, and Ms. Malone, along with both principals. Ms. Graham was there. Noah, you were there helping out. I believe members of the school committee were there as well. So a very nice night for our families, and I think we're always trying to look to make that event bigger and better, and our staff was a big part of the planning and also the implementation of the night. So thank you to those key members. I also just want to give a quick recognition to our student council, who in 2026 earned two distinct honors, the Gold Council of Excellence. These are the plaques right here, and also a Top 10 Project Award for their Unity Week for these past several years. So it's been a great run for Student Council. They've had a lot of success at the state conference, and this year they got back into that gold standard again. So just want to congratulate Student Council as a whole. I know Noah's part of that here, and Ms. Malone as well. But they do a lot to build a culture and just a positive influence here at the junior senior high school. So just a recognition, our special shout out to all those members. But the recognition tonight is for a student who has, in my opinion, gone above and beyond, really advocating for his classmates, for the school. Every year we send students to Nature's Classroom, our outdoor classroom. It's a grade 6 kind of rite of passage, if you will. We send our kids to some obscure part of the state where they learn about nature, and they have a great hands-on experience for 4 or 5 days learning from some great facilitators. But this endeavor takes a lot of fundraising. I think the average cost to our families is just south of $500 per family. So it's a lot of fundraising, and it's a lot of money out of pockets for a lot of families. So we do a lot of events over the course of the fall and in the winter to help offset some of these costs. But we had a student who has shown his love of STEM education. He's, I think, owns 2 or 3 3D printers. And at many of our events this fall was selling his homemade things, from keychains to decorations. I bought some for the holidays, and then gave back over $1,000 to Outdoor Classroom. And I really want to applaud Mikhail Kittredge for all your efforts. I think it's a great standard to set for your classmates, and we really appreciate all the hard work that you've given back to the school. So I want to give you this certificate in honor of all your hard work. If Mr. Beck wants to just join me for a quick picture. Thank you. Congratulations. That's to you. You pose for it. Doesn't say you. No. Change it if you want.
I think it went that way first.
Like you say, that's his government name. Mikhail, his real name.
All right. Congratulations. So you guys, if you want to stay, you're more than welcome to. But it's totally up to you if you want to leave the meeting. But thank you again. Thank you. And that's all my recognitions for this evening.
Cool.
I'm going to sit for all of that.
Well, thank you, Mikhail, for doing what you did with donating money back. That's pretty awesome. All right, now number 3, we have approval of minutes.
So I put 2 sets of minutes in the packet. One was the revised minutes from January 29th, and one was from last month. So I believe Maggie there was something was inaccurate on the January meeting that we had to revise, so we did that.
We did not have a December meeting, so I added in the January
Correct.
notes that it was from the November, the minute, yeah, okay. The minutes were from
That's what it was,
November.
thank you.
Perfect. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve both sets of minutes in the packet.
There's just one other mistake I just
No,
saw
go ahead.
in here. Okay,
Well, let's get a second, and then we can
Okay.
discuss.
sorry.
If anyone wants to second that.
I'll second it.
All right, go ahead.
Under the school committee reports, when Matt proposed the 2 subcommittees, the superintendent review is actually Matt and myself.
That's right.
And then the budget is Maggie and Tim.
I did mean to fix that.
That's okay.
I will.
So
Okay.
what we can do is we
Because
can
we
just,
talked.
we can approve the minutes. So we'll do a motion, if someone wants to make a motion to approve the minutes with those,
A friendly amendment?
yeah, with those changes.
All right. So I make a motion that we approve the January meeting minutes with those corrections of the subcommittee members.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Keeps going away.
Public participation.
Yeah, no, it keeps, my agenda keeps disappearing on me. Open it separately. Public participation, public comment. Do we have anything? Seeing none. Move on to the next item. Communications. Any communications out there that we need to discuss? Seeing none. Go on number 6. This is a student representative report. I'll turn this over to you, Noah.
All right, thank you. We have past information. St. Patrick's Day Spirit Day on Tuesday, March 17th. We ask everybody to wear green in order to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Hyannis, earlier this month, our council sent 8 members to Cape Cod for the statewide student council conference. There we participated in workshops, listened to 2 amazing keynote speakers, and participated in elections for next year's state board. This conference was teaching members new leadership skills, and it helps us improve our council as a whole. This year we took home a few awards. Mr. McCormick already mentioned the Gold Council of Excellence. We also got a 5-star Council Award and the Top 10 Project Award. And Sophia Giangrande, Milko Lia Ayala, and Whitney Reno were recipients of the Commonwealth Award. Our senior versus faculty game was last Friday, March 20th, and the senior class hosted the faculty in a basketball game in the high school gym. Upcoming, we have our lip sync in April Spirit Week, the week before April break, which is April 13th through 17th. We'll have our Spring Spirit Week. We'll have different themes for each day. I don't have those exact days right now, but the lip sync will happen as per usual on that Friday. Grades 6 through 12 will compete in the competition, and the 5th graders will come to watch. And then we have conferences and field trips coming up. We have our spring conference on April 15th at Midfield High School. We invite all community members to follow our social media accounts and keep up with all MBHS Student Council activities and events. Our accounts are as follows: Instagram at MBStuco, Facebook at MBStuco, TikTok at NB_Stuco. Stuco meetings. All our meetings are open to the community. Our meetings are typically every other Monday in the high school Kiva. Please feel free to join us if you have anything you would like to discuss or just want to see how things are run. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Noah. Any questions for Noah?
I do. Noah, you mentioned the basketball game. Who won the basketball game?
The seniors this year.
That's your chance to make a victory lap here. The students beat the faculty. We need to get that out in the public for anyone that wasn't there for it. So,
Who were the standout staff?
I mean,
If they won, who was the MVP?
if the staff had won,
Yeah.
really, it was a tight match. I don't know. Mr. McNeil had some pretty good defense.
Mr. Beck is quite a
Mr.
good basketball
Beck,
player.
Yeah, he had quite
I
a
didn't
few
see
good
that
moves.
coming. Good.
Coach Kinnan was definitely the best player on the floor for that team.
Yep.
He got hurt though, cause
A little injury.
yeah,
Ooh, not good.
Yeah.
he's okay. He's okay.
It was a really well attended event. There was a good crowd there. Mr. Surratt had several family members and friends in attendance as well because the seniors wanted to.
He got a lovely recognition.
Yes, kind of honor him with the game.
Cool.
And shout out to Andy Karen for reffing the basketball game again.
Oh, nice. Did he give any technicals?
Almost.
Almost.
All right, cool. Thank you, Noah. All right, financial reports, number 8. Oh, nope, sorry, hold on. I jumped ahead. Number 7, school committee reports. Do we have anything under school committee reports? Seeing none.
Currently.
Financial reports. Any questions on anything in the packet? Anything you need to share, Tim, or point out, or anything to highlight?
No, I don't believe so. I don't think there's any pointing questions. I think we're both here if there are any questions.
All right.
You good?
All right. Next item. All right. Next item is back to Mr. McCormick for the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. So a few items before I do have a brief presentation for this evening. But we had a curriculum subcommittee meeting which we discussed. We just recently received some grant funding for investigative history, which is for grades 3 to 5, and 6 and 7. This grant sums just over $16,000 for the next 3 years, and this is one of the many HQAM that we're trying to phase in to both schools we have over the last couple of years. So this potential grant funding will provide the training and access to curriculum for multiple teachers across the district, and we've had great success with the 1A Foundation. As I've noted before, we've worked with them for Project Lead the Way, for Open SciEd, and also Democratic Knowledge this current year with our 8th graders. So really have a great partnership with them, and this is another piece to that puzzle. Last Tuesday, March 24th, we brought back Dave Cartoonin from Cartoon EDU. As you may recall, early in the year, we had Dave come out and did a great job of really kind of encapsulating what we are doing currently with our STEM programming. Dave put together a 6-minute anchor video, and we have 5 smaller vignettes that we can use for different parts of that programming. This time around, Dave came out to do a full district-wide kind of promotional video for grades K through 12. So he, in fact, interviewed first graders, high school and middle school students, and also teachers and staff from both buildings. So we're hoping to have something to show to our families, to our staff, to also school committee by late April, early May at the latest, where similar model, we'll have a longer 5 to 6 minute video talking about all the pieces, all the great work that's going on in our district, but also 4 to 5 smaller vignettes that we can share with different groups of people about different programs that we have up and running at both buildings. So we are excited about this work. He's been, again, I think another addition to our team this year, and I know that Mr. Murphy and Mr. Beck did a great job of organizing who was going to meet with Dave, so thank you to both of you for facilitating that. Rural school funding presentation, I'm not going to go through this. I just want to give you an idea of kind of some of the advocacy work that we're doing. The 67 or so rural schools across the Commonwealth, we've been working and talking throughout the school year, a little more formally since probably January, about some of the funding issues that we face as a rural school district, and obviously North Brookfield is one of those districts. So I just attached a presentation that I put together that has been used at different roundtables across the state as talking points, and you can use any part of it, but I think that we're hoping to meet with some state reps and senators next month up in Quabbin, and I will be bringing this and talking about some of the key points around the rural school funding mechanism that needs to really change. We talked about it at great length about how it needs to be more consistent for the rural school funding. So just some, something to look at. If you guys have any pointed questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but I didn't want to go through the whole presentation tonight because it could be quite lengthy. But it gives you kind of a background, a timeline, and kind of the state of affairs of where the funding is now for FY26. Additionally, I just want to update the committee and the viewing public around our professional development planning for next year. As you all know, over the last 2 years, we've spent the majority of our PD working with Novak Education around Universal Design for Learning. And we've had two main facilitators who've been with us for both years who have worked with the elementary school and the high school around how you implement UDL into the various grade levels, the two schools. And we've made that work even more kind of granular this year, where Mr. Murphy's team has spent most of their time kind of looking at how you support students with those tier 2 instructional grouping within the classroom. And then Mr. Beck and his staff have really looked at how we really bolster the applied learning concepts in the classroom. And one way they've started doing that is by using what's called a leveling up protocol, where teachers kind of give each other feedback on how to make lessons more relevant for students. So what we did was we sent out a survey to all of our staff around where they want to go for next steps. And the two that I just mentioned, the applied learning, authentic learning experiences, and the tier 1 and tier 2 instructional practices are the two areas of focus that our staff picked out about 7 or 8 different themes. So what we're in the process of doing is building internal PD for next year. And what that means is that a team from Mr. Murphy's school and a team from Mr. Beck's school will facilitate PD for the other school within the district. I think it's timely because we have some teachers within our district who have really done a fantastic job of kind of leading from within and being really strong teacher leaders. And I think we have a core group at each building that can really facilitate high quality PD for the staff across the district. So I think it's a great way to celebrate some of their successes, but also keep the PD internal. There will be some cost savings to the district as well, but that's not really the major reason why we did this. We did this because we have staff members now who are really eager and ready to help facilitate some of this work. So that's kind of our overall direction for next year. Obviously, I'll give some more details as we get closer and as we start next school year. But that will start as early as next fall and throughout the course of the school year. One of my last items before the presentation this evening is around the staff listening sessions. And this came out of basically back in February when the special meeting, when the vote to discontinue conversation on tuitioning out, the committee felt that it was important to kind of figure out next steps for the district as far as if we're going to be a standalone district, what are our priorities around programming, around opportunities for kids. So a way to start that conversation before we have a more structured conversation is to grab some ideas from staff, to have some conversations with staff. We had a day last week, we have a day tomorrow, and then I'm going to plan one more day where out of these conversations I will frame some key themes that they come up with. We will then turn that over, we'll have a more of a kind of a concerted effort and more of a framed conversation with families and other stakeholders in the community. But I wanted to start here to get some key talking points that the staff really drove for both, not only the high school, but the entire district. So we had, like I said, we had one session last week, we have one tomorrow afternoon, and we do those for each building, so it's separately. And then we'll have one at a date to be determined. And I will share the information again with the committee about what was talked about at those meetings and kind of the ideas that came from those meetings. So that's something that is this ongoing. Any questions with any of those items?
I have a question. For the rural school funding presentation,
Yes.
can we put that up so it's accessible on the school website as its own standalone thing? I know it's kind of part of the meeting minutes, but
Yeah.
I think that's something. It's 49 slides worth of information.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's a long presentation that, if presented here, would be 2 hours of time to talk about it. But there's a lot of really good info in there and some numbers and charts and things like that that really break down, I think, some of the failings the state's doing in funding rural schools and defining what a rural school is, because a lot of people wouldn't realize there's rural schools on Cape Cod.
Yeah.
You don't think that, but like that's one of the things no one considers is that outer end of Cape Cod it's very rural. There's not a lot out there. Yeah. So just to see the towns that are affected by that and get that useful information out to people, and they can look at it on their own and see what's there.
The one quick point that I just want to make is that MASS, so Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, and DESE over the last several years has advocated for $60 million in rural school funding. This year we received 11. So, and the year before that it was closer to 15. So what the Rural School Committee is asking is that the state makes FY26 whole, so they infuse another $4 million back to the towns that are part of the rural school funding formula. But going forward is to really raise the bar and be closer to that $60 million, which would be a game changer for a lot of districts, including North Brookfield. So that's where the advocacy falls. On behalf of the school committee and the district, I've written letters to Senator Durant addressing those similar issues. And these talking points can be shared by there's many districts within a stone's throw of us that have these same kind of concerns. So I would gladly put that on the webpage. But it's an issue that I think maybe second to Chapter 70, if you're a rural school, really needs to be addressed.
Mr. McCormick, what did you, just to put it in numbers for anybody who might be watching, if the state was to go back up to the 60, what does that mean for North Brookfield? Do you have that
It's
number?
never been 60 million.
Yeah, if it gets to that point though.
Yeah, I would have to kind of do some more math work on that, but I would say, I will tell you right now, and the committee knows this, we received this current year, we received right around 90,000 for a rural school aid. The year before was around 120. And we don't get those firm numbers until the school year already starts, but if we go to that 60 million, I mean, it's going to be quite a bit more. I don't want to give you a solid number because I'd have to do some work there, but it would be a game changer for North Brookfield in the sense that not only would we be able to offset some of our technology costs, we could look to do a lot more with that money.
And there is too, I did share on some of the Facebook town groups, I shared a link that has some information on rural school aid, and there's a link on there as well too to do a form letter to send to Representative Berthium and Senator Durant if anyone's interested too, and we can put that up on this. I mean, if we can put something like that up on the school website too with that presentation maybe. So
yes, yeah.
I think there's a couple of links that you've probably seen them going around.
Yeah, I've seen that we have some of them through DESE that I've shared, I've seen, and then we had one that we kind of drafted as a smaller group at a meeting back in January.
Yeah, so if you want to maybe put one of those up there too.
Sure. I can put the one that I sent to Senator Durant.
Sounds good. Anybody else? Anything? Seeing nothing further, we can move on to, thank you, Mr. McCormick. We can move on to administrators' reports.
I actually do have a presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
So I also put in your package, I will go through this, and it won't be 2 hours, but I wanted to give the committee and the viewing public and our staff kind of an update. I believe that Mr. Murphy and Mr. Beck shared basically the same presentation, so the staff is seeing kind of where we're at. But this is our MAP assessment data review for the winter of 25-26 for math and reading. And for those of you who aren't in education, there's a lot of acronyms, but MAP stands for Measured Academic Progress. It's a computer adaptive assessment. We've been using this across the district for at least 4 years. I know we were using it before I arrived, but I think these last 4 years we've been using it across both schools with fidelity. And I think that what this test does is it takes the results from our students and compares them with the national kind of numbers for all students who take this norm test. So it's a good way to kind of show achievement and growth for both reading and math for all of our students. And although we did not have every single student take this exam, I think that the numbers, we had enough students, by and large, enough students that took this assessment that we can see some real concrete data to share with you tonight, but also with our staff. And also with our students. I think the next step of this, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, is really getting our students more keyed in with where they're at with MAP testing and how we can gain some excitement around it and also use it as a tool to kind of show their achievement and growth. So how do we review this data? So as you may recall, back in the fall, early fall, the district brought in Andrea Ricotta, who is a consultant now. She previously used to work for DESE, and we've done some work with Andrea in the past. But the reason we brought her in is we wanted to come up with a formalized, really easy and kind of student-centered data cycle. And her process that she facilitated for our leadership team, and in turn, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Beck have done the same facilitation with their staff members, is really a 4-step system. Step 1 is describe what you see. So every time you get any subset of any data set, whether it's MCAS, MAP, discipline data, you name it, right? Describe what you see. What do you notice? What are the trends? Step 2 is pause and reflect. And part of the protocol is summing up what you see in one word or one phrase, right? You're going to see some of that in a later slide in this presentation. Step 3, interpret patterns and generate ideas. So this is when you start to really think about, okay, we are seeing some deficiencies with, let's say, grade 6 for reading. What is the data telling us, and what can we do as far as ideas? And then step 4, obviously, is, in my opinion, the most important step, because that's when you come up with the action steps and the next steps to really promote student achievement and increase student growth. So that's the 4 kind of systems, or the 4 steps of this data analysis protocol. I can tell you that Mr. Murphy in his school has a data room. What's it called again, Mr. Murphy?
The ID room?
The ID room. So his data meetings are held in this room. These 4 steps are up on the wall, so you come in, you're not having to guess what the next step is. And Mr. Murphy does a great job of keeping his staff kind of on target, so they don't skip across steps 2 and 3 to get to step 4. They go through the process, and they do that in a succinct manner. All right, so district snapshot. So we'll start with math, and we'll talk about reading next. Math K through 12, we had, like I said, we had 334 students who took this test. Overall, the district median achievement, all grades combined, was in the 51st percentile. And then students who were in the top 2 colors, if you will, so green and blue are your highest achieving colors. 36% of students fell in or at or above 61 percentile for math grades K through 12. So looking at this a little more granularly for the elementary school, this is just breaking down what you see for grades K through 5. You see the median score. Then you also see where the students individually fell between, you have 1, 2, 3, 5 different columns, right? The lowest scoring students at the first 20 percentile all the way up to the greater than 80 percentile. What you can see, and I tried to really harness some key points because there's a lot of information here, is that grades 4 and 5 right now are notably performing above average. And that's, I think, a really, due to a lot of factors. One, I think that you have some really good instruction going on, grades 4 and 5 across the board. And you have personnel across the district, but in particular some of these teachers right now who are really using this process. They're looking at the data, they're having conversations about the data with their colleagues, and they're doing some really good work to move the needle, if you will. Math achievement by grade, the secondary level. You can see from grade 7 through 12 here, you can see kind of where our students fall currently with those 5 different tiers. So math growth and achievement, so just comparing the fall to the winter, from fall 25 to winter 26. So the growth was in the 50th percentile. Achievement at the fall was around the 52nd. It was kind of stagnant overall from the fall to the winter. But like I said, overall the district achievement held steady at the 56th percentile from fall to winter, with modest redistribution towards the middle band. So that middle band, that middle of the group from 41st to 60th percentile is where we saw a lot of our kids start to fall. Looking at grades 3 through 5, again, I talked about grades 4 and 5. You also saw a very strong upward trajectory of grades 3. The red kind of quadrant, if you will, the 1 to 20%, was down to 11%. Grade 4, you saw 30% of students in the top band. Overall, the red was also down. And then grade 5, you saw a strong green and blue achievement at 66%, which is really the standout performer for math, was really grade 5. And that's been consistent. If you think back to where we were with last year with MCAS, or this year with MCAS, 2 years ago with MCAS, and also with MAP data, our grade 5 math scores have really been a standout. And that's in part to some great instruction and really some good systems that we have in place. And we're really trying to kind of grow those systems from grade 5 to the lower grades and obviously the upper grades. But a lot of good work going on at that grade 3 through 5 grade span right now. Math growth by grade, so the middle and high school. I just want you to kind of look over, if you look to the far right with the trends, just kind of gives you, again, that one word or short phrase of kind of where we're at with each of these grades as far as growth and achievement. We are seeing some improvement with grades 8 and 9. We have some concern with grade 11 that has declined, but we're also seeing some stability across the district or across these middle and high school grades with math growth. So shifting gears a little bit, that was math. Now this is an overarching district snapshot for reading, grades K through 12. We saw a winter achievement at 54 percentile, so slightly higher than what we saw with math. And it was up from 51% in the fall. 53rd growth percentile, and then we had 328 students who took this assessment in the winter months. So we give this test to our youngest learners. Actually, that's not true. We don't. Pre-K does not use this test, but our kindergarten students, during the full day, we start to administer this test. And as you can imagine, there's some growing pains with our youngest learners, and I think it's part of the growth with our 5 and 6-year-olds is getting them up to speed with how it works on the computer. And I think our kindergarten teachers do a great job with that. But you're going to see the achievement and growth kind of tick up as we go through this, because the kids will become more in tune of how this works. But we are seeing that number of students in the lowest percentile, the lowest quadrant, that red quadrant, diminish over the course of these past 2 assessments. Grades 1 and 2, we're seeing some overall some good progress. I think what you're seeing from kindergarten to grade 1, and this is a phrase that you've probably heard, or I've even said it before. Students make that shift from learn to read to learn. And that starts to happen as young as our first grade students. And I think when you see that shift, you start to see some real progress with our younger test takers. Some of the goals we had for this data were slightly skewed based on some of the SEL goals for our students, but I think that, again, with our youngest learners, so kindergarten, first and second, they are getting acclimated to this testing site. They're getting used to how to use it. And our teachers, I think, are doing a really good job of supporting them through this learning. Because it's a learning process for students and for teachers as we become more familiar with this testing cycle. Reading growth, grades 2 to 4, again. Grades 2, positive gains. Both the green and blue bands are growing. Grade 3, again, we're seeing a little less overall achievement, but really I think our students are really getting the grasp of how to use this testing site. Grade 4, tremendous growth, and we saw a really strong increase with achievement from fall to winter. We had 10% fewer students in the red band, so we are, again, seeing a really strong upward trajectory for our grade 4 students in reading and math, but this is reading in particular. Grades 5 through 7, I think some of this is cut off, my apologies, but again, looking at some improvement for grade 5, it's staying fairly stable in grade 6, and we're going to talk about that a little more in a minute. And grade 7 is also improving. We are still seeing there's some concerning results across both math and reading around that transition from grade 5 to 6. And I think there's a particular area of focus for us, because we need to make sure that we have really thoughtful transition planning for those students as they jump across the parking lot, so to speak. That making sure that we have that consistency of instruction and curriculum. What we've been able to do the last couple of years is we phased it into reading. We're now in year 2 for our elementary students, and about a year and a half with interliterature for our grades 6 through 8. So we're going to see, I think, an upward shift with that transition between the 2 grades. I can't not point out that we've had, I think, a really positive shift with personnel in grade 5, and I think that, like I said before, they're doing some great work. We have 2 teachers who are new to the district and fairly new to teaching who are really just doing some great work. And kudos to Mr. Murphy and his team for really kind of supporting that learning for them as well. Skip one. Reading growth, grades 5 through 7. Again, if you look down the bottom, we're seeing some strong grade 5, stable grade 6, and improving again at grade 7. Grades 8 through 10. Grade 8 was fairly stable and strong. Grade 9 is improving. Grade 10, which is one area of concern, and this is an area that I've highlighted also with my own superintendent goals, grades 5 and grades 10. Even though MCAS, for example, is not a marker for graduation, it's still a big part of our accountability data, and I think it's important that we really bolster the achievement of our 10th graders, because that's kind of the culmination. Even though high school's not done, we know we have still 2 years left. Grade 10 is a real pivotal year. What have our students built on, learned over the course of the previous 10 years of their formalized education? So, that's a concerning number right now, but we'll continue to look at how we can bolster those numbers, and that's going to come up in a few slides down about next steps and what we do. And lastly, for reading growth, grades 11 and 12, again, we're seeing some really strong growth and achievement for both grades 11 and 12. So what do we see? So we're going to break this back down to the 4 steps that we talked about at the beginning of this presentation. What are we seeing here across the district? Right now, we're seeing reading outpacing math. We are seeing stronger overall scores for reading as compared to math. We are seeing the elementary gains are real, right? We're seeing some positive growth and achievement from fall to the winter. Like I mentioned, we're seeing students who are really kind of starting to grasp the test-taking model that we're using. But those gains are real. We're seeing more kids in the green and the blue and less students who are scoring in the red. The 5th to 6th grade cliff, again, that's still a concern. That's an area of concern for teachers across, or in each school, but also bridging that gap from grade 5 to grade 6, that transition from the elementary school to the middle high school. Secondary right now is mixed. We see, like I said, 11 and 12, we're seeing some good scores. We are seeing some lower scores that we're concerned about in grade 7 for math, in grade 10 for both subjects. And those are things that we have recognized in previous years as well. This cohort of students, we've seen similar trends as they follow through from middle to high school. So, we're looking at a couple things. We're looking at what we're doing for curriculum, which we've phased in curriculum over the last couple of years, but also how do we make that pedagogy, that instruction better? And we've supported that, I feel, through our work with Novak and UDL, but also looking at what we're teaching to our students. And then looking at ELA, the secondary patterns, 6th grade averages are higher, but several individual students dropped. And then 7th grade shows big jumps in achievement. And that's where we kind of want to move our 6th grade students, our 6th grade class. Step 2, what does this mean to us? So one word or phrase, and these are phrases that I actually took from the feedback that teachers gave to Mr. Murphy and to Mr. Beck. So you can kind of tease some of these out where they came from potentially, but promising was a good starting point. Elementary trajectory is moving in the right direction, and that's accurate. Slow and steady. Progress is real but incremental. I think when you spent a lot of time phasing in new HQIM and you're changing a kind of an instructional shift across the district, this progress will be slow at times, but we are seeing growth. We are seeing increased achievement. Encouraging, refinement, balance of support. There's always that question, are we overextending support for struggling students at the expense of others? So if we have a group of students who are high achieving, are we making sure that we're supporting and challenging them? And that goes back to what I talked about earlier. When you have really strong tier 2 supports in the classroom, you're thoughtful with your grouping, you're thoughtful with the questions you're asking those students, that I think that we can slowly or hopefully quickly diminish having that thought about missing a group of students within your classroom. And then stamina. There's always a question. We want to build stamina across all of our learners, and we see that sometimes very clearly at our youngest learners, but also we see at the high school age. We see students who don't have, I don't say the ability, but don't have either the skills or the patience or the stamina to read as much as they should be. And I think that's, if you Google kind of reading across kind of the high school landscape now, it's greatly diminished than when most of us were in high school, where students are not actively reading for pleasure or in school as much as they used to. And I think we're seeing that decline is affecting some of our reading scores as they get to the higher grade levels. Step 3, why do we see these patterns? Again, I spoke to this already. Kindergarten, we're seeing some of the scores are reflecting testing and experience, not ability. Grades 1 and 2, we're still building those MAP testing skills. Grade 3, we're starting to do more goal setting, which is increasing the engagement with our students and students to teacher. We have seen a lot of great work this year with our reading interventionists and our Title I supports for students at the elementary school. We really have a much more robust kind of program going on where teachers are much more in tune with the DIBELS scoring, so they know where their kids are falling, and they are taking that data and then really thoughtfully building those Tier 2 supports within the classroom. So I think that's been a really welcome shift for our teachers and really to the benefit of our kids. And then grade 4 and grade 5, EDIA is a program that I mentioned in previous meetings, which is it's an AI-generated software for math instruction. And we're seeing a tremendous amount of buy-in from our elementary school teachers and some of our high school teachers as well, using that thoughtfully. And again, that goes back to the idea that when teachers are spread too thin and they have a group of students who are over here and a group of students over here at different performance levels, they can give those students work through this software that it's AI, so it can interact with the students in real time. It can support them in real time. And I think that's been, a real success story for us. And I think that we had, 4 or 5 teachers on a PD last week with them, and I know that your elementary teachers are really, really enjoying that work with EDIA. And we're seeing, again, that speaks to the continued success at some of our lower levels. Just going through some of our higher grades and what we're seeing, kind of interpretation analysis. That's 5th and 6th grade gap. That's something that we cannot overlook. We won't overlook. We're seeing, again, some continued ELA engagement barriers. Teachers are trying to use various teaching strategies to engage their students, but that still continues to be an issue. Test taking and motivation. One of the things I think will really help with this is that we want to get more buy-in and more kind of buy-in, but also kind of students really understanding what their personal data is telling them. So they have more of a vested interest in what the data is saying. So that's something that we're going to really work on for our 3rd round of assessment data, but also moving forward for next year as well. And then step 4, what will we do next? Again, these are 5 themes that came out of the conversations that I try to capture for the committee, for the viewing public, if you will. But expand vocabulary and language instruction, scaffold and break down concepts. I think we're doing some good work with that, but continue to simplify complex concepts with scaffolding. And I think that's a big part of what we're doing across the district instructionally. Build incentive structures. So similar to what we do with PBIS at the elementary school level, is really incentivizing not only the performance, but the work that it takes for students to be invested in kind of deeper learning. And I think that we're trying to make that more enticing for some students. Broaden learning experiences. I think that we talked about becoming a testing platform, but also with protocols like Leveling Up, making sure that the day-to-day instruction is more relevant and engaging for students. And then what we're continuing to work on is strengthening elementary and secondary connections, making sure that we're bridging those gaps between grades 5 and 6, but just elementary to middle high school in general. What are we doing for vertical alignment with our curriculum? Just a few priorities to finish this, just so that we're all kind of on the same page. But again, this is what I mentioned. I've kind of mentioned this already, but launch school-wide or district-wide goal-setting protocols for spring MAP. So having teachers talk to students about what are your individual goals for the next MAP testing and what that means. Okay, so they really buy into the data. We want teachers to facilitate goal setting during the WIN blocks, the winter advisory blocks at both buildings, but specifically at the elementary school, where it's happening fairly regular right now, where students are being grouped thoughtfully based on what they need in real time. And then, we really want to know why this matters. When students understand their data, it's their data, it's what they're doing. I feel, and I think by and large, most educators feel they invest more in their growth. So ownership drives this effort. Map-driven Tier 2 instruction and win. Again, just really kind of want to kind of hammer this home, but we want to continue to use map testing as a precision tool, not a blunt instrument. So looking at that, the big picture data obviously, but also more granular student to student and how we can support individual students. I think one of the things we've done a lot of work on the last couple of years, and I think it's coming out more and more now, is looking at individual learning plans. So that doesn't mean necessarily an IEP. It doesn't mean a 504. What that means is every student learns differently, and how do we capture the learning modalities that best suit them? But when we're sharing data, how can we support their learning through what they need from us? Priority 3, and I say this, and I just want to make sure I'm very clear in this. We do want to see more assessments that mirror map. What that doesn't mean, though, is we're not teaching to the test. What we recognize is that this type of test, computer-based exams, where the questions fluctuate based on the proficiency of the test taker, that's becoming more and more the norm, not just in education and schooling, but in the real world, right? The students are encountering these kinds of assessments more and more. So we want to have students have access to this, become familiar with this test taking model as early as kindergarten, which I know kind of sounds crazy, but students are really becoming savvy with technology at a very young age. So we want to really capture that. And some additional kind of recommendations that we came up with. So longitudinal data review, track cohorts over time, which we've been doing. We will continue to do that. For example, that map data from 6th to 7th grade. Examine the 5 to 6 transition. That's huge. We need to make sure that we are having those teachers talk more regularly and look at their instruction. We do, on the reading side, we have that consistency with HMH curriculum for inter-reading, inter-literature, but it's having those teachers have more face time about what they're doing with their students. And then disaggregate by subgroup. So we look at the subgroups within our individual learners. How are we isolating these groups, and how are we looking to make sure that this is a more accurate picture of what we need to do for instructional effectiveness. And priority 4 is again continuation of the expanded use of EDA. Like I said, it's really taken off with our elementary teachers. Our high school teachers are using it, but we want to see a more regular use across the middle high school level. And I think that we will get there. I think that one thing that EDA does for us, which is a great asset for the software, is they can show us how much we're using the platform, how much students are engaging in the platform. And so we can use that data to share with teachers. They can ask questions and also become more familiar with the platform. Like everything else, it's evolving over time. So the product that we started in September is now better in March, and that's kind of how this works. And then our path forward. I believe this is the last slide here, but just again making sure we have school-wide and student goal setting for our spring map K through 12. We are still using map data to assign our Tier 2 students to win block, and that's right now, that's more focused at the elementary level. Like I mentioned, the elementary teachers next year are going to give more professional development overview for our high school teachers around how that looks. Aligned assessment, increased classroom assessment that builds map test taking skills, and then continue to expand on our EDA math platform use. As I mentioned earlier, math is not quite where reading is. We want both kind of subjects to improve, but math is lagging behind right now reading. So I believe use of platforms like EDA will help with some of that for many of our students. I just want to leave with this, and it's kind of throughout the presentation. I think the data is very promising. I think that the work is working. I think our teachers are doing a fantastic job. We are, I think, thoughtfully giving them a lot to do. We have the last couple of years, but we've remained consistent with kind of what we're trying to do for our students and for our teachers. And I commend, excuse me, our 2 building leaders and our district leader, Mike Baldessari in the special ed department, for their work with teachers and making sure that this all works in kind of in unison, if you will. So I think that we've been very intentional. Next year for our PD will also be more intentionality with that, with what we're doing for our kids. But I think we have some really realistic goals for our spring assessment cycle, and I'm hoping that we see continued growth and achievement based on some of these goals.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions on?
I have a question about the EDIA program. You mentioned that when you first mentioned it in this presentation during the 4th and 5th grade, you were talking about them using that a lot. Does that platform interface condition them better to respond to a computer-based test, you think? Or is that, like, does that, you mentioned that was one of the paths forward, is getting them used to those types of assessments in the classroom.
Do you want to ask Noah? Mm-hmm. You want to ask Noah? That we were just talking about that a moment ago, just from the perspective of having the opportunity to practice in the format, and he agreed, certainly working within the format.
So that program has a format similar to what's being used in the MAP.
Yeah, it
assessment.
helps.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's nice too because you have the coach essentially to ask questions if you have anything. It works you through it.
It won't give you the answer.
Yeah, it'll never give you the answer.
So,
Trust me, I've tried.
Yeah. we make it that way, so it doesn't give you the answer. But,
Just give me the answer.
Part of this, I feel for the kindergartners that come in and they're
Yeah.
like, here's a computer-based assessment, go.
No, and again, we recognize that there's going to be some growth there, and we don't want to stick our youngest learners in front of a TV screen or computer screen all day long. But
Right.
I think we need to introduce them to some concepts and some interaction with a laptop or a Chromebook. To go back to your question, I think that one of the great things about EDIA is that it is aligned with illustrative math, which is what we use for middle and high school math. It also is aligned with the state standards. So it knows what students are supposed to learn at each grade, right? And it directly talks to our students using the same curriculum that they receive day to day in our middle and high school classes. So that's a great benefit to this program. So I think the elementary school teachers really just kind of hit the ground running with it. I think for various reasons they're thoughtful when they use it. I think our high school teachers definitely see the benefit of it. It's just sometimes there's a shift with, I'm not used to this so much, and I'm going to get there, but it takes a little bit longer. I think that's kind of what we're seeing. But I don't think there's anybody who says it's not beneficial. It is. It's just the more you use it, I think the more benefit you have for your kids.
Thank you for your first person testimony to that also.
Sorry,
Anybody else have anything? I do have one quick question, and this might be too into the weeds. If you don't know right now, that's fine. Do we see a correlation between these test scores and like quarterly grades, or like good or bad? Like, you know.
So I think we do. I think sometimes, so you think about this testing mechanism. This is strictly based on like national averages, national norms, and what the standards are. And I still think there's moments where we see across both buildings, and this is probably a state common for any school, where you see grade inflation, which doesn't totally or accurately give you exactly where the student is at. Mm-hmm. I think you see probably less of that at the elementary school because it's a standards-based kind of grading mechanism. So kids aren't receiving like a numerical or a letter grade, they're receiving a 1, 2, 3, 4 based on their proficiency or their exemplary understanding of the standard. But I think when you see increased growth, I mean, the things that stick out for us are sticking out in the MCAS data as well. So they're high 5th grade, 4th grade scores for both math and reading. We saw those in MCAS, and we have the last 2 or 3 years. We saw those scores last year. So we know there's some good instruction going on at various grade levels. And where we're seeing students kind of fall down, we're seeing struggles across that grade level at the high school level. We're seeing students performing not what we want them to be. And this MAP data is kind of reflecting that. So I think there is a correlation, but I don't want to say it's an exact science, because sometimes you see a grade inflation that isn't done intentionally, but it happens based on a lot of factors. So that's something we have to be aware of as well.
Yeah, I think I was more curious, like if we see in like the 10th grade, if we see some scores that aren't so desirable and we need to get better, is that some of just not caring about the test? You know what I mean?
It could be.
I was just curious if that.
I think
there's any of that.
There's some of that. And there's been some of that across more of the middle high school where, and I don't think when the state made the decision not to use MCAS as a graduation requirement, I think that even opened that up a little more. We have to make sure that, and that's why I talk about students knowing their own data. We have to, we want to make students understand what their data is telling them, and if not to care about improving their grades, if you will, this is their path for success in the future. So if they are consistently getting better as both a math student, as a reading student, it's only going to open more doors for them, after high school, after middle school. So that's what we want to kind of really work on with our students. And we need to work on that with some of our teachers too. Not to there's some teachers that I think there's been that kind of mindset, well, this doesn't count anymore. And it still does, because we want to make sure that students are receiving the highest quality instruction possible.
Tim, could I add just one small thing to Matt's question? At the secondary level, we've also seen some sort of odd individual misalignment. So for example, the mid-year map, there was a student who had the highest percentile in the entire school in ELA. That student struggles academically, and it has more to do with executive functioning challenges at home, but there's no question that they clearly have a grasp of the content and skill. And so in some of those cases, we use those that kind of data to work with the student, celebrate that with the parent, and try to use that as a trigger to get them going. So there have been some cases there.
Yeah, I mean, looking at numbers can be a great motivation for a lot of kids too. Just seeing like, wow, I really,
and trying to hit another
right.
level, right?
Cool.
I think that's a great point, Mr. Beck. Thank you for adding that.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Mr. McCormick. If there's no other questions, we can move on to the next agenda item.
It's Mr. Beck, the high school.
Yeah. If we want to just go down the line for administrator reports, let's start with Mr. Beck.
Yeah, Noah had already alluded to the senior faculty basketball game, which was surprisingly fun. A wonderful acknowledgement of Mr. Surratt. I did injure myself, and I made a wise decision to not continue to play in the second half. I pulled a calf muscle. But I was able to go home where my son was going to be critical of me. I took 2 shots and I made them both. So effectively making it home without ending up on workers' compensation was my goal. But again, thank you to Andy, Karen, and to the family of Damien Surratt who showed up, and also congratulations to the seniors who did a great job. I wanted to also thank our guidance counselor, Courtney Earhart. She worked exceptionally hard in organizing our whole school career day, which was held on Monday, March 9th. That day featured a wide range of opportunities for students to explore their future paths, and welcomed 15 industry professionals, along with representatives from 6 post-secondary technical schools, as well as multiple military branches, and organizations like Job Corps and our educational partners at Blackstone Valley Hub for Workforce Development. In addition to speaking with professionals, students also participated in mock interviews, engaged in virtual reality career exploration experiences. And one thing that we talked about in the staff meeting was trying to move the career day to the fall, so that it's something that helps students to see how their learning is connected to their future a little bit earlier in the school year. As Superintendent McCormick had mentioned, John McNeil, Chelsea Saunders, Caitlin Malone, and Holly Nordby did a really remarkable job of putting together a fantastic community event that was really well attended. And the STEAM night on March 18th, I'm not sure if you guys ended up ultimately getting a count, but
360.
Yeah, 360 people attending that's really good community engagement. And so I also wanted to take a moment, although I couldn't thank every one of them individually. More than 20 high school and middle school students volunteered their time to set up, including 2 middle school students who literally cleaned out the bleachers really extensively and washed every single table that was being used between the cafeteria and outside to make sure that everything was clean. So I wanted to thank those folks. We're currently holding, through the National Honor Society, is holding a Damien Surratt Memorial Food Drive from March 23rd through April 15th. Each crew advisory group will compete to see who can contribute the most donations. And the winning advisory group will be entered into a raffle to win a variety of small prizes in memory of Mr. Surratt. We have student-led parent-teacher conferences on Thursday, April 16th, from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And students are working on portfolios and also in the process, if they haven't done so already, sending emails to their families to sign up for meetings on the 16th. For upcoming events, as you know, there's no school on Good Friday, Friday, April 3rd. The 6th grade field trip to Nature's Classroom, or what is called Outdoor Classroom, will be from April 6th to the 10th. And Friday, April 17th, will be the lip sync contest. The 10th grade had ELA MCAS this week, with makeups being held through the next couple of days. Beginning tomorrow, the 6th grade will have their ELA MCAS, and the 7th and 8th grade will be on April 4th and April 8th. I'm sorry, April 7th and April 8th. I did also want to echo the congratulations to Sophia Gingrande, who was celebrated at the Hogan Campus Center at Holy Cross, along with dozens of other Central Mass seniors who were selected to receive the Superintendent's Award for Academic Excellence. And I did include a picture, although I have 3 typos in the report that I didn't edit, so, including adding an F to her last name, which I know doesn't work.
That's okay. It's a tough one. I totally understand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Beck. Any questions? Seeing none. Mr. Murphy.
Sure. So we are starting MCAS testing actually tomorrow. So as we approach grade 3, 4, and 5 ELA MCAS, we want to take a moment to thank families for the continued support of their child's learning. Our students have been working hard all year to build their reading, writing, and critical thinking skills. The MCAS is an opportunity for them to demonstrate what they have learned, and we are confident that they are well prepared. We ask families to help their child feel ready and confident by ensuring they get a good night's sleep tonight, providing a healthy breakfast each morning, encouraging them to take their time and do their best, reminding them to stay positive and believe in themselves. MCAS is one measure of progress and does not define our students. We are proud of their growth and effort every day, which we kind of talked about earlier when we talked about MAPS. We'll be continuing our testing ticket incentive system. So no matter what the student's score is on the assessment, they'll be able to earn tickets for a raffle based on 3 criteria: using their recommended testing time in its entirety, using their scrap paper, and following post-test expectations. So I know we talked, again, when we talk about MAP testing, the why. Why are kids trying their best to do this? Why are they gonna really take the time to answer each question and go through each thing that they've been taught to do when grappling a tough question? And this is just a little way that our staff and the admin team are showing that we care about their hard work and we want to incentivize them. So we do these raffles. Last year we started it, and this year we've expanded it. So each grade, kids can walk through and see these great prizes and understand that they have a chance to win them just by doing the things that they've been taught to do on the test, and things that all kids can do no matter what their mastery of the subject is. So we're very excited about that again this year. And then our book fair. Miss Cedarland, who we honored earlier for the first book fair that we did, again, set this up in the Bell area. You can see by the picture, it's amazing. So they ran the spring book fair this past week. It was an amazing event, not only a chance for students to purchase brand new books that they are passionate about, but it also is a great fundraiser for our library and Starbucks store. The Scholastic Company gives Scholastic dollars based on purchases that the school can use to purchase books and prizes through their website. It's a big undertaking that our PTO does seamlessly during the day. We also did a literacy spirit week this week to help promote the book fair, which was fantastic. So we had different days that we had themes around reading. We did a Bad Case of Stripes Day, which we all wore stripes, and then we showed a reading of that book, which is a fantastic book. We did a Get Up and Read Day, which was our pajama day. We just didn't say pajama day, but it was a Get Up and Read Day. And when they first came to school, they read. So really tried to focus the spring book fair with some fun stuff at school, just to promote reading, which was great. And that is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any questions for Mr. Murphy?
I'll just say that I'm an almost 45-year-old man, and I see the book fair, and I'm like, oh, book fair, nice.
Yeah,
Like that was peak elementary school, and that you see that book fair open up, it's like, this is the day.
Oh, without a doubt. The little, Ziploc bag of, dollars and quarters coming in, and the kids do an amazing job in there. And again, Miss Cedarlin and the PTO, just the way they set it up, break it down. It was actually picked up today after all their hard work, but they do an amazing job. And we already received things for our school store, and Miss Gaines is already looking to buy some new books for our library, so we're very excited.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Baldessari.
Thank you, Chair. The first item in our student services report focused on therapeutic crisis intervention for schools again. It's a program that's administered by Cornell University. We had 11 participants complete the course. The 12th participant who was involved was Mr. Murphy. It's his second time around, and he was a co-trainer with me. And I felt really fortunate to have a teammate in the process. Essentially what we've done is we've eliminated the use of timeout spaces, and we've replaced spaces with trained adults, which is the way things ought to be. We are now working on a revision of our policy for physical restraint, which references the use of timeout spaces. And because when I wrote this grant, I had committed to the Department of Education that we would be eliminating those spaces, it also calls upon revising our school district's policy. And a draft policy had been created by myself and my partners, Mr. McCormick, Mr. Beck, and Mr. Murphy. And we put some work into that, and now it's been moved to the superintendent, and I believe at some point it will be before you for review. And then with your approval, hopefully the district policy will align with the training that we've done and with the grant that we received, and put us kind of in the front of the pack with regard to changing the way we treat our children when they're having, the typical or, more acute aggression, frustration, anger, and things that any kid can have, but seemingly more and more in the post-COVID days. We completed our triennial audit. This has been an age of audits for us. It's the third audit that we've had from the Department of Education this year. It was completed, it was submitted, and then as things often go with state level audits, and this is a state level audit of federal grants, so it's a little bit more technical. I received correspondence from our auditor just seeking some additional clarifications and documents, and we had everything that they had asked for, and that was all submitted today. So we're awaiting the results of this, but I think it's going to be a favorable condition for the North Brookfield Public Schools. And on the same vein, we completed our tiered focused monitoring review. As you all know, we are now in the stages of just developing one really small corrective action plan. It's a requirement, but it is not a heavy lift. It's very easy to do, and it's reflective of the great work of our department when it came to doing our tiered focus monitoring. We welcomed a new teacher to our NEST program. That's our elementary therapeutic inclusion model that we've implemented this year at the elementary level. That program has been instrumental in the return of one student from an out-of-district placement, and the placement of a student in the program who was in our educational setting who may have been placed out of district if it wasn't for the investment that the superintendent allowed us to make into this program. And then we have a third student who will be a part-timer in the program, And now with a certified special education teacher by the name of Kathleen Thompson, with the para-educator who we have in the program, that classroom is staged to educate 6 children, what we call a 6-1-1, 6 children, 1 teacher, 1 para-educator model. And what that means is, I'll be collaborating with some of our neighboring districts to let them know that we have seats available, of course, on a tuition basis, not school choice. These tuitions tend to be much higher. Should they need that level of intervention for any students for whom they cannot find placements. And even if they can find placements, some of our neighbors, our school is closer, and they can have their children educated closer to their home school, but also in an environment where they can be included in the general education setting. And that doesn't take place in the collaboratives in the private placements. There's no general education setting to access. So it's a source of pride for North Brookfield Elementary for sure, and I thank Mr. Murphy for his partnership, the superintendent for his advocacy. This is the type of work we're supposed to be doing, and I certainly myself, I'm really proud to be a part of it. Take any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Thank you for the hard work on this as an educator and a school committee member. It's super important, and I'm so happy that it's happening here.
Yeah, I'll say we have some general ed teachers who are happy with it as well, as you'd imagine. So, thank you.
I think, like you said, the biggest selling point is the access to the general education classrooms.
That's right.
Too. It helps the children not feel as isolated either, because their friends that they see all the time, they're there, and you're not being taken out of your town. And
right, and I want to point out one other thing that I think gets missed. I think it gets missed is that aside from our ability to do that, the inclusive capacity for the children who are in those programs is higher here than any place I've ever seen, because we have such favorable class sizes. I mean, this should be a school where people want to come because there's no dilution of attention. And so that allows me to say to those directors, you have the opportunity to have your student in a 6-1-1, and when included is not going into a classroom of 29 or 30 kids. It's actually a better special education condition and a better general education condition that we have. And I think it's like a badge of honor from my standpoint in special education. It's really great. And we're really thankful for the support everyone gives us for that. So thank you, Mr. Canada.
Anybody else have questions? Thank you, Mr. Baldessari. Mr. McCormick, I think we had a couple other reports in there. Anything you wanted to highlight from? I think there was facilities I saw.
Yeah, so it's technology from Mr. Berridge and facilities from Mr. Holloway. I think just real quick, this was mentioned at the last month's meeting, that we are transitioning away from Alma as our student information system. We have landed on School Insights, which will be starting this summer, late this summer, and for 26-27 school year. Much, I think, better platform in both ways, both the forward-facing for teachers and for students and staff, but also on the back end for our SIMS reporting. So it's much better for Mr. Barrett and for us as a district. And also cheaper, so that doesn't hurt. And then on the facilities front, I think that, again, I can't say this enough, the asset of having Mr. Holloway, who knows this community, knows these buildings involved. Just a lot of pride is taken with the work, and he as a person, as you can look through this list, is always trying to find things that he can do for the district, for the 2 schools, and as inexpensive as possible, which isn't always easy to do. But I applaud the work that he is doing and the work of his team. That was really it.
Okay. Those 2 reports. Excellent, thank you. Anybody have questions on either of those departments?
I just had a quick question on the School Insights. Have any teachers gotten a chance to see it? I know you haven't adopted it yet. Have they
Is
gotten
that
to-
important?
Yeah. Have they
No,
gotten to
so
see
we're,
it?
we're starting with, that's a great question. We're starting with our admin assistants first, which I think is
Okay.
next week is the training.
Today
Um,
they had it.
And Zach.
They did a little bit today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Barrage is doing the data rollover as well, so kind of doing training plus rollover. And then, once we have our admin assistants trained where they feel comfortable, we're gonna start to train the trainer model, train some key teachers who will then help with that process. But then, when we come back to school in August, some of the time in those first 2 days will be dedicated to looking at the whole program. It's really, and I'm okay with technology. I'm not the best. I'm not the worst either. It's very easy to
User-friendly.
navigate.
Love
So
that.
that's where we kind of landed on this one.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent, thank you. Number 11, old business. I don't think we have anything there.
I don't have anything on.
Policy, number 12, update the committee on NDPS curriculum opportunities.
So we met earlier this evening to discuss an opportunity that I think is going to be very beneficial to our students. This was the phase-in, if you will, of investigative history for grades 3 through 5 and 6 and 7. We wrote some grants that will allow us to train a handful of teachers, I believe 3 or 4 at the elementary school level, and then 1 teacher at the junior senior high school, so we can roll this out for the 26-27 school year. This is all funded through the 1A Foundation, which, as I mentioned to the subcommittee, this has helped us phase in Open SciEd, Project Lead the Way, and TKP, which is our 8th grade civics model. And it really harnesses the applied learning concepts. So this turns our teacher into more of a facilitator and really puts more of the onus on student discourse, student engagement within the classroom. So we love their products. I think we've really kind of hit done some great work with these products. I think the 1A Foundation has been a great partner for the district to really support the financial implementation of these HQIMs. So I believe I don't want to speak for Mr. Gray and Ms. Giangrande, but I think you guys are both on board, and the next step of this would be for a full committee vote so that we can sign these grant documents and get our teachers trained starting actually next month, middle of April, is when the training starts.
Yep, so Kristen and I sat in, as part of the subcommittee meeting. Mr. McCormick showed us a video. We talked about, we had a few questions. We talked about the curriculum a little bit on it. Seems everyone's in favor of it. Pretty exciting for the staff. Sounds like they're in favor of it as well. Correct? We did. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So our recommendation to the rest of the board would be that we move forward and we sign this grant opportunity. So I would entertain a motion from somebody to accept or to sign the grant opportunity to move forward with this curriculum.
I will make a motion that we accept the proposed grants so that we can move forward with this curriculum.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Great. Thank you. And then we have number 13, we have new business.
Yes, so 2 items of new business this evening. The first is something we typically do in March, so I've kept that consistent. This is the 26-27 school year calendar. So I gave you 2 versions, version A and version B, and the memo that I attached just kind of quickly outlines the difference between the 2. Option A observes Good Friday, which is April 2nd of next year, as a non-school day, which has been kind of past practice, what we do typically in North Brookfield, at least since I've been in the district. Option B includes school on Good Friday. So Friday, April 2nd, there will be school for students. Obviously, the major difference is this is the last day of school for students and staff. So option A, last day without snow days, would be June 17th. Option B would be June 16th, assuming no snow days, which this year we had 15, we had 5, I think. So I don't know if we're going to have 0 snow days, but that just gives us out 1 day earlier without snow days.
All right,
I will say that, obviously I reviewed this with Mr. Rigney, your president. He really didn't have a strong opinion either way. He was fine either way. I think more the sentiment was to getting out earlier if we could, but I don't think there wasn't any desire either way.
Yeah, it's hard with Labor Day being so late this
Yeah, for next year.
So we'd have to start later than we normally would.
Yeah.
And then the conflict of snow days versus a day of getting out. So that's kind of where we looked at it both.
So I'll entertain a motion, we can discuss further. So I'll entertain a motion to vote on one of these two school calendar options for the 26-27 school year.
I'll move that we accept one of these two calendar options for the 2026-2027 school year, and then we can amend it with whichever one we decide.
I'll second that. All right, discussion. So that was gonna be my question, was the staff over there. So they weren't a tiebreaker?
We did have something in the contract about that, but I can't remember what the
We did, yeah, we've talked about that in the past. I know that.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to remember what their what they favored on that. Obviously, the thing is too, it's like you said, the day, we don't know if it's snow days, like if it was gonna end on a Friday and then they'd have to come back on a Monday, I would say no. I would say, you know what I mean, but we don't really know the last day yet. So that part's tough. Because of my opinion personally would just be, if it's not broken, don't fix it, you know, keep how we've been doing it. But if the staff came to us and said they'd all prefer to have class on Good Friday and get out a day earlier, and there's not a lot of pushback from families who are observing, then there's no reason not to. I know other districts locally, I think, go on Good Friday. There are some that go, right?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's mixed.
It's mixed, yeah, it's mixed.
So it's not, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not abnormal
No.
to have it.
I think we're not gonna get any feedback right now
Yeah.
in order to make this vote.
That's what I'm kind of hoping for here.
I personally am in favor of keeping the Good Friday holiday as a day off.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's
That's what we've been doing. I mean, and I don't recall any real pushback from it. I know we did have some conversations around it at one of the last contracts. We were talking.
I can't remember the exact language that was in the contract about it or the discussion.
There isn't about Good Friday. There's other language around the day before Thanksgiving.
So
those things. But
yeah, it was tied in. We talked about both of them, but then ended up not changing anything as far as Good Friday goes. All right, so either of you, Maggie or Kristen, what do you have? What are your thoughts?
I just wish I knew what families would prefer.
Right.
I mean, I know.
That's why I'm leaning towards keeping it the same, because I don't know that part of the
Yeah,
equation.
I'm not sure how many people, that would.
Right, like are there still families that
Yeah.
travel because that's an important holiday for their family?
Yeah.
And they, don't do it locally.
When does that fall?
But this is also a late school year, and if the winter is unkind, that puts school in session potentially quite a bit toward the end of June.
it could be with.
But either way, it
with
only
many
saves
snow
a
days we
day.
celebrated this year,
No,
right?
right. I'm thinking about how many, there have been this year.
So when does it fall next year? It's Good Friday.
It's April 2nd.
Second, yeah. All right, so
It's on Friday.
I meant, I didn't know if it was like right before April vacation. That's what I was looking at.
Can we approve, could we approve choice A, and then if the winter is like just insanely harsh and awful and it puts us out really bad, is there a possibility to like add a meeting?
Always amend the schedule.
Right,
It's just-
to attend on
Yeah, I
Good
mean-
Friday
I think
at some point during this, I feel like it's been a practice in other districts where they've looked at, they've said, okay, we're gonna give you Good Friday off, but then the winter is atrocious and they've had 8 snow days, and they say,
I've heard of districts
we're
where
gonna
they take
recant
a
it.
chunk of either like February or April vacation,
yeah,
And-
which I think that's horrible, but like,
but just one day. at
would
one
the
end or
union be
other.
agreeable to giving back that?
We did it, so I
Day
can tell you
after
that
the fact.
2 years ago, we had a snow day on PD day. And we used Good Friday as that PD day. And we had a handful, a small number of teachers who called out because of
Religious.
holiday.
Yeah.
But we did make up a PD day on Good Friday.
So
It
I
was
would.
2 years ago.
So I'm in favor of keeping it, we vote to keep it the same tonight, so, and we can always, if something
To
changes. we
readdress
can-
it in the future.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think where we've been doing it that way, you know.
So I'll amend the motion and say that we would be voting to approve the school calendar, which would observe Good Friday as a non-school day.
And I will second that motion. Any more discussion? Nope, seeing none, all those in favor? One, right? Two, everyone vote?
Yes.
All right, that's that. Next item.
And the next item is the Nature's Classroom. It's actually called Outdoor Classroom now. It's not Nature's Classroom. Trip, which is in early April. As I mentioned before with Mikhail's fundraising and just the efforts of our sixth graders. This is a great opportunity for students to learn outside of the school setting. But this is an overnight trip, in-state, but overnight trip for those sixth graders which need school committee approval. And I've attached within your packets all the information, the contracts, the cost, some of the itinerary, and just kind of the background around Outdoor Classroom and what they do.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the Nature's Classroom overnight trip coming up.
I'll move to approve the Nature's Classroom trip.
I will second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? I will say that this is a no-brainer, obviously. It's probably, anybody who's been on a week-long trip like this would say it's probably one of the best things they do in elementary school, so. Well, now sixth grade, sorry. Middle school. So, anything else anybody want to add?
You'd have an unhappy sixth grader.
As having 3 kids who have done it through North Brookfield,
No, it's an awesome.
they still talk about it.
Yeah,
as
it's
one
no
of
doubt
best
it's one of the best things
experiences.
that happens.
Absolutely.
All right. All those in favor? All right.
Have fun at Outdoor Classroom.
Yeah.
Yes, enjoy it.
All right. We don't have anything.
For all the sixth graders that are watching at home.
Yeah, intently watching.
We don't have anything for executive session to this evening, so we will go on to, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn this evening's meeting.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Thanks for working so hard. None, all those in favor? Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
One of the groups for Nature's Classroom.